Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of 11 kilometers per second. For those of you joining me for the first time, welcome and thank you for being here. I hope to provide you with some valuable insights, and I hope to, provide you with some value. And for those of you who have been with me for the past, I don't know how many episodes I've done so far, I appreciate you the most because, first and foremost, we all want to be heard. Secondly, we all want to add value. And so your coming back means that you're hearing me, and I'm adding value to your life. And so in that way, you add value back to mine. And that's all. Eventually, I want that value to, to translate into some funds so that I can go out and live my life and have the freedom, ultimately, the freedom to do whatever the heck I want at the time that I want it. And I have a lot of things to talk about, but, I've been reading some analytics and all of that good stuff. So I want to tell you precisely what this channel is about if you're joining for the first time. 11 kilometers per second is the speed at which something must move in order to escape Earth's gravity. So it is known as the escape velocity. And so what I use it as is a metaphor for the way that you must move, the things that you must do in order to escape the things that hold you down. The metaphor is gravity that's holding you down so that you can soar into outer space. So you can shoot for the moon, be amongst the stars, all of that good stuff. And for me, that means not maximizing your potential. I've said that multiple times. Really, it's reaching your potential. Your potential is what it is. It's either reached or it's not. So it's reaching your potential. And that means going out and battling yourself. Ultimately, there are two things that hold you down. Those things happen to be, well, there's many things that hold you down. The two things that I focus on that I feel are the biggest are one being fear of judgment from others, which stems from what I believe is our internal programming of needing to feel self-worth. It's something that actually drives us to go and do well, but also if not understood or if something doesn't just push us along into the pathway of using that programming towards our benefit, then we can spiral down into degenerate behavior, trying to console ourselves with things that ultimately harm us and definitely does not lead to our feeling good. So that's, I have episodes on that. You guys, feel free to go into all the different videos that I've watched if you are interested in why it is that I think that about self-worth. The other thing, so the first is, just to reiterate, fear of judgment from others, which stems from our feeling and our need for self-worth. And then the other is our aversion to any sort of pain, which is both physical and mental, emotional, and things of that nature. And that's also programming within ourselves. Pain can ultimately be an indication that things are wrong and therefore could lead to death. And so your body is saying, hey, all I want to do is just survive the next day. But in order for you to thrive, you have to keep on adapting and becoming the stronger version of ourselves. Human beings are anti-fragile, which means the more we get banged up, the more we're likely to get stronger. That's for everything. And when they say no pain, no gain, that's not just for muscles. That's for mental and everything else that you're dealing with. And so now that I've given that sort of long, but hopefully every time you hear it, if you were here for a number of times, it reinforces the message. What I want to talk about is why Black people will not improve. All right, so a bit of a clickbait. For one, it's not just Black people, but my focus is on Black people because, I'm Black. And, Black people, by Black people, I mean people of recent African descent. By recent, I mean, the theory goes, because all we have are theories based on what we know at the current moment, is that, the oldest living mother, mitochondrial Eve, you guys can look that up if you have no idea what that is, was found in Africa. And so everyone is actually African. But, depending on whatever time, white people, because they're the ones who are setting the classifications, decided, what African descent is. We're going with that. Or Africoid people. Again, those are the people who are deciding what the races are and then telling us, and then we're, going with it. And so, yes, I understand the irony of what I just said, because, ultimately we use the same metrics that they use to lower us, and we use that to stay in those same groups. But that's because both history and current times, and the way that we all think about it, I can think that, I'm not black all I want. I can be the Rachel Dolezal of transracial is whatever it is. But if everybody's treating me a certain way, it is. And so, hey, I do my thing because I love my people, not because, I have any hatred for anybody else. So if this is something that you feel like, hey, I'm gonna listen, and I'm not African descent, but I'm gonna listen and learn, good for you. But this is for my people, particularly I want to focus on black men. But, there's a lot of things as human beings that impact all of us. But why it's difficult for us to improve, to get better. Ultimately, it boils down to the fact that we have two different brains. Why the hell am I laughing? It's just absolutely true. We have two brains. And so this is why it's difficult for us to have a revelation, because we're looking, everyone wants the easy thing. I mean, there's so many things that I could talk about. Everyone wants the easy thing, or we think we want it, the easy thing. But last episode, I talked about what self-worth is. I also talked about what it takes to actually feel a sense of happiness, and what Will Smith talked about, and having all the material things in the world, being able to buy whatever you want and still not feeling good. And I want to do an episode on what I think will actually, maybe next week we'll talk about what will actually make you feel good. But we think what we want is the easy life, right? And that's because the vast majority of us are just floating through, right? Like, we're just floating through life, like feathers in the wind and things like that. And so every once in a while we get to have fun, and we don't get to the level of Will Smith and recognize that, I can do this shit every single day, whatever this shit happens to be, whatever it is that you think is fun, I can do this every single day, and yet this thing is still not making me happy. So, not being a person who is there yet, I can say, just based on what I'm hearing from those who are there, that is just not what we actually want, is that ease, that ability to just sit there. But we'll talk more about that in the next episode, what exactly it is that we actually want that's going to make us happy. But right now, everybody is able, all those who are trying to take advantage. I have this shirt on, Funnel Hacker, because I am an entrepreneur. I am a person who sells my products and my services, which is ultimately I want for Black people to start businesses, grow them, and I help you to grow. I'm a business consultant, help you to grow your business. But all of what we're doing right now is trying to find ways to get people to buy things. And one of the ways that we do that is by adding value. And one of the ways that you add value is you make this stuff easy for people. Ultimately, Alex Hormozi has this thing where he talks about like the value, right? It's like immediacy, the ability to get it right away. It's also like, how much effort do I have to put in to get this stuff, right? It's like, if you can remove the effort part of it, people want it, right? That's why you have Amazon. Amazon is like, with click of a button, 2 days later, you get it. And Bezos understands this very well, and this is why he's constantly investing heavily in what he knows that human beings want right away. I have to do nothing. And so a lot of the different things that are being offered to people right now is like do-it-yourself stuff, right? It's like, not do it yourself, I'm sorry, do it for you stuff, where I do everything for you. You don't have to worry about any of the work. And that's like, you have to figure out exactly how to more and more do that. And technology is helping us do that. This is what automation is all about. Take away all the work from people, and that's how they're selling you on this stuff, ultimately keeping you. It's the folks, it's the folks who are at the top, right? They talk about this as well, right? The people who own the TikToks and the Facebook, their kids are not on this stuff all day long because they understand that what they're doing is providing for the sleeping masses exactly what they want, a dream, a continued dream of whatever it is that they are looking for to be satisfied. And even though it's not ultimately going to give them their happiness, that's how I can get you to spend your money. Let's talk about one of the things that is big right now. Ozempic, right? Ozempic is a drug and that people use to lose weight. I don't know how it works, but I can tell you, like, a lot of people would prefer to just take that Ozempic and then a couple of months later the weight is off. They don't have to go to the gym. That's freaking tiring and all that good stuff. Now, you get off of Ozempic, you look good, but you don't have that sense of accomplishment that I feel every morning when I get out. It's like, damn, oh yes, I did that. I feel good about myself. I can tell you that during the shit, having to get up every morning, it hurts every time. Now, I'm at a point where the hurt that I feel is acceptable hurt. This is part of it hurt. I'm convinced this is what I do type of hurt. You know what I'm saying? It's the kind of thing that most people get to when they have a job. Like Black people, for example, I was in a restaurant, not a restaurant, I was in a hotel one time, and then, I was sitting in the lobby, and one of the workers walked by another worker, both Black, and, greeted the other. The man greeted the woman. Was like, hey, what's going on? Or good morning, whatever it was. Like, and then the woman responded. She was a little older. I'm here, and I was just thinking to myself, yeah, this is it. Like, I'm here. Like, I endure. I know what I have to do to make sure that I'm living, like I endure. But it's not because I am thinking I appreciate the game or I'm choosing to live the game. I'm just enduring. I'm surviving. And I'm here. I got to do it. This is how I feed my children, my grandchildren, whoever it was at the moment. I got to do this because I love them that much or whatever, or what's my alternative, or, like, why would I end it? Right? There's reasons that we have in our minds for ending it. And so we're here. And so that pain, we've accepted it, right? Every day, this woman is going to get up and go do what she needs to go do to make ends meet. She's accepted it. That's her identity. She's a person who gets up, goes to work, provides for whomever it is that she has to provide for in herself. That's her identity. She's become this person, right? There are we take that. Most of us are those people, and we take that as if it's a given. But there are people who don't do that, right? There are people who are on the streets, putting out their cups. There might be multiple reasons that they're there. I'm not arguing. I have no idea. Some people have no family, whatever. I don't know exactly what happened. Like, they had to run away when they were children. People were abusing them, all that good stuff. All I know is that becomes what is acceptable to them, not going into work. Like, that pain of getting up and doing whatever that takes, that becomes their identity as well. And so you get to that. It does not mean that once you have that identity, you have now automatically eliminated the tough things about this thing that you are doing. You have not, right? I'm hoping this is coming clear, and I hope that as I continue to talk about this is coming clear, because I feel like this is important, because a lot of times when people are thinking about becoming the next version of themselves, the more ideal version of themselves, the version that they want to, they're thinking in their minds that person who is this person, that person you're going to be, or the person that you're looking at and idolizing, or you're say this is the persona for example, and we'll talk a little bit more about personas after I finish this thought, but this persona, this is the person I want to be like, you're thinking that they have it easy, right? This thing is it's just natural to them. No, this is a person living a specific type of life that they decided this is what I'm going to endure. And that pain that is associated with that is now acceptable to them as whatever pain that is currently acceptable to you. Why is this important? This is important because I think a lot of people stop trying or stop trying to be this person that they're going to be because they're expecting it to just click. And no, it's not that. It is that you have to go in every day and be that. And again, it gets to the point where it's not as hard for you, but in the beginning, it's just got to be like drudgery of constantly doing and doing and doing the thing that person does. That's why persona is important, right? If I say I am a person who wears this type of hat, who puts in a handlebar mustache, those are easy things. Those are aesthetics, right? This is something that I can quickly go and do. Now, it took some time to grow the beard, but we're talking about months, not necessarily years, or it's not, it's growing on its own. And so the other things that's tough, the things that hold you back is the stuff that you have to go expend energy doing. Things that hold you back is the stuff where you will fail because you don't know it yet, and you're fearing the judgment of others. And so you have to go out and do those things and force yourself to do the things that your mind is saying, please don't do that. I just want to chill. And you got to force yourself to do it, and it's going to suck every time until you get to the point where it's acceptable suck, right? It's an acceptable suck. And the issue is that a lot of us are hoping, and this is, to bring back the whole, like, we want it easy. A lot of us are hoping for something that just clicks, like a revelation. This is why I sit here and I can tell you all this stuff. You know it yourself as well. Like, we know most of this stuff for the most part. We know it, but it's hard to actually do it because, revelations are tough, right? Revelations are not what, like, I know this stuff, but it doesn't mean now it's habitual, it's acceptable pain, right? Because that is what this is what the two different brains do, right? We have like the prefrontal cortex, or even the higher brain. I don't even know the name. Go look it up because let me not lie to you about all this other thing. I know the prefrontal cortex does executive brain functions, right? It's the kind of thinking, but I think so what I'm referring to is not just the prefrontal cortex. I'm differentiating it from the amygdala. I remember my science classes, bro. Amygdala is like the lower brain. They call it the animal brain. This is the brain that just bases off of instinct, quote unquote. It in like reaction. It's basically mostly fear and emotions and all that good stuff. And that is because, we can't be sitting here making judgment calls when you're threatened with death. You know what I'm saying? Like, the brain can't be like, let me figure out how to do this thing and all that good stuff when you got to flee, fight or flight type of situation. And so there's two different kinds of brains. And this is something that's like, I'm going to react automatically. And that's habits, right? Those are the habits that you do that you don't think about while you're sitting here driving. You find yourself home and you're like, damn, what the hell? Or you find yourself home and you were supposed to go somewhere else. And, you're like, oh shit, I did the same thing again because you're not even thinking. And that is what your animal brain does. And the issue is that you've got to get yourself to learn animal brain. And it's very hard to do that. So your brain is doing shorthand a lot of times. So when, like, there's this book that I read, I wanted to look it up first before, and I completely forgot to look it up. Hold on. All right, never mind. Let's because it's in my freaking Audible, which is on my phone. So I'll just write it down. If you are not watching on YouTube, go watch it on YouTube. Or if you're not listening, I'll write down the name of the book so you can see what the name of the book is. But this guy's psychologist, I believe his name is Adler. Look him up as well. He's like a contemporary of Freud. And, Freud's whole thing was, psychoanalysis, and like there are the subconscious parts of your brain, and these things are happening when you don't know that they're happening. And this guy ultimately, like, basically said all of that is hogwash. Nobody has any trauma. All of that stuff is crap. And ultimately, we're all making decisions based on what we're looking to get. So, for an example that he gave was like this dude. So the book is written in the form of a dialogue between a philosopher and a young man who heard about the philosopher's philosophies, and he's looking to basically debate him and prove this philosopher wrong. And so they're going back and forth, and as the philosopher is telling this guy, no, there's no such thing as trauma, the young dude says, no, I have a friend who, like, he refuses to go out. Like, he is definitely afraid of going out. He's like one of those phobias that, you don't want to go out because he's just not willing to. And he's like, you telling me that's not based off of trauma? And the philosopher says, no, what exactly is happening is this guy's looking for attention. He is, essentially, you got to read the book to see exactly how he puts it. But, he's looking for attention from his parent, potentially. And what happens is when he decided, okay, I'm going to not do this because I got a response from my parents, that actually gives me exactly what I was looking for. If I start going out and doing all this stuff, I'm not going to get the attention I'm looking for. So in essence, like, whereas we're looking at it and thinking, wow, this dude must be traumatized. Like, who would go through the pain of staying inside all day? Adler is saying, no, ultimately what you're considering pain is his version of getting whatever reward he's looking for. You know what I'm saying? And, and so I remember reading that and thinking, wow, my mind is blown, because I've always been the type of person who was like, yo, what is the reason that this is happening? And, and so in being very sensitive about different people's issues and being able to talk to them in such a way that, recognize that they are going through something. And ultimately what that meant to me is like, yo, stop with the bullshit and do what you need to do. That's what it boiled down to. Like, you're sitting here complaining about, oh, my life this, my life that, here's all the things that I've gone through. And it's like, everybody goes through shit. You're deciding to use that as the reason for you to do this, which gives you the result you're looking for. And then you're going to point back to it and say, no, I'm only doing this because of all of this. And ultimately, you're getting the result you're looking for. And I thought that was interesting. I don't know that I completely agree with Adler. I think that there's a lot to what he's saying. We are doing that. And we could say tomorrow, I'm just not going to do that anymore. And we're going to go and do it. It's not to say that it's going to be easy, but nothing is. This is why I talked about like all this other stuff before with, people having acceptable pain. It's not going to be easy, but you can decide I'm just going to stop doing it, as opposed to blaming this whatever occurred and saying this is the reason why I'm not going to go and do it. Right. That said, I think the reason I don't agree with him is like, I think that a lot of times we have no idea that we're doing it. Right. Like, it's like subconscious for me is real. Like I like this. Part of the reason why I do this is because I realized that a lot of what I did not really consider pain, like I struggled with going out and putting myself out there and being judged. And I did not consider that fear. Like, I did not, like, fear to me was going out and when I feel somebody, being threatening or something like that. And like, am I fearing this person, or some kind of place where it was some kind of scary thing happening. And I'm like, am I in fear? And like, I did not consider that to be fear. And because that language is not what I use with the feelings that I was having, when I did not want to be judged, I could not tell you that what I should do as a result is move past that fear. Like, that took some understanding for me to do that. And so I don't know that I agree with Adler completely on this, because first you have to recognize it. And this is the reason why I do this. You have to recognize that this is fear. And then once you do that, then you can say, oh, okay, what I'm doing right now is avoiding fear. And as a result, like, I'm avoiding the pain that is associated with the failure and the judgment. And I can go through and do it anyway. Right. And so that's that. But okay. Back to the amygdala, the animal brain. It operates in shorthand. And so what happens is, the reason why I was bringing this up is because I wanted to talk about how people get traumatized. But what happens is, like, a feeling gets, what's the word, like, infused, or like comes associated with something that you have done, right? Like, some kind of, this is, again, I didn't want to use the word trauma, but some kind of trauma, right? Like, something happened that made you fearful, like, and now, every time you go, like, maybe you went to a roller coaster and, like, became really ill. And now every time you see that roller coaster, your brain does not want to be like, why am I feeling this? The upper brain the higher brain would do something like, okay, I'm feeling this pain, or I'm feeling this trauma, or I'm feeling this unease, or whatever it is that you're feeling, because there was a time when I went there and it was, and I was definitely ill, and that's the reason why. And it really doesn't matter and all that good stuff, because that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen again. No, your brain is trying to shorthand it. Okay, this roller coaster, bad. Avoid. And that way you can avoid having to go through all of the stuff and not have to spend the countless or the whatever amount of time that is going to take for you to come up with the reason why you should or should not do this. And that's another reason why I don't know if I agree with Adler, because the brain is actually doing that. The brain is actually doing that. And if you don't know that the brain is doing that, then how are you going to be like, let me be aware of this feeling? Right? That's the issue. A lot of us are not aware of the feelings that are taking place. That's why it's important that you're always examining your self-examination is important. Okay. It's important because you have to feel that feeling and be like, why is that happening? That shorthand is not going to tell you. You're just, if something's going to happen, you're going to be like, whoa, feeling came up. Feeling just came up. A lot of times it's happening too quickly for you to see it until it happens a couple more times. But you're always constantly trying to be like, okay, what's this? What's this? What's this? That's number one, that you have to examine yourself in order to know that something is happening. And then when you know something is happening, it's up to you now to decide, are you going to continue to behave that way and get whatever result you are currently getting that's fine by you? Or are you going to stop it because you want a different result? When you want a different result and you say, I'm going to stop it, the next step is then to say, okay, I know that it's not going to be easy, but I'm going to step in until the habit forms, until the thing that's in my animal brain becomes replaced with something else. And that is what we need to do to improve. And there is no way there's very little ways for it to happen differently. We are not in control of it so much. Now, there are things that could happen, because this is what all of us are looking for, but we have no idea what's going to have that happen, right? The same way that you can have something that causes you trauma. Somebody goes through something that caused you trauma. It didn't cause them anything. They just kept on moving, or whatever the case may be. You have no idea what's going to do it. But there are some things that, when it happens to you, it automatically makes you like, okay, this is not who I am anymore. And I'm okay with the fact that this is what I got to do every day. But here's the thing. Those people not only know that it's not something that they're not going to want to do. So somebody who decided, okay, I am no longer going to be an alcoholic, or what they do with an Alcoholics Anonymous is they specifically say, I am an alcoholic, because the idea behind it is that they should know that this is not something that ever goes away, something that they wrestle with all the time. This is the principle of acceptable pain. Every time I go in this, I'm going to wrestle with it, right? And so that's why they use the words, I am an alcoholic. But ultimately, the identity that they have is somebody who was not going to be that anymore. And there are some things that get you to that point, right? There are some things, some revelations, some people can have some revelations that whatever happens, some near death thing, and they're like, nope, pouring all the stuff away. I'm not going to do it anymore. And that goes to number two. So number one, with respect to, once you have the revelation, is like, okay, this is my identity. I'm no longer doing that anymore. Something happened that makes you flip the switch and say, here's my identity. And as a result, here's the pain I'm willing to accept with having to live this identity. Okay. And then the second part is, here are the things that I have to do to keep temptation at bay, right? When I decided I'm going to be fasting and eating well, you do not see me buying crap and bringing it into my house. Now, let me just tell you, I do have I do have cheat days. I do, and like, I'm not completely strict, whatever. But my identity is still such that I'm willing to accept the pain of not eating certain things when I want to. I'm willing to accept the pain of, not eating during the time frame that I'm fasting. I'm willing to accept the pain of not eating some dessert sometimes, and knowing that, sometimes I will eat it, but as long as it's not like constant, like every time my body is calling for it, I'm going to do it. I'm willing to accept that pain. But the point here is that I'm also not going to be going out and buying this type of stuff, right? And so the people who are deciding to change also make changes in their lives. When they go to sleep, who they're hanging out with, the things that would make it difficult for you to continue to be the person you say you are, right? I know somebody, for example, who, is a vegan, or that's the identity they've taken on. And every once in a while, that person will eat meat. And the reason is because they are accepting the ability to bring the meat into their home, right? And it's like, trying to do this because you're thinking it should be easy is a problem. Trying to do this because you're thinking it should just be natural is a problem. Trying to do this and knowing that those people who happen to have and be the person you're trying to be have taken all those steps and are okay with that life and are okay with that pain that they have to do and saying no every time, or saying yes if it's affirmative steps that they have to go do to take this action, like going to the gym. And they are okay taking those affirmative steps. They're okay saying no. They're okay removing some things out of their lives because they've decided, for whatever reason, this is important enough. And that's something that you can decide. Whatever it is that makes you decide it one day, you can decide and start doing it. But if you are doing it because you know that this is where you want to be, then it's a matter of saying, here's the person I want to be. Here's what that person does. Here's the persona that I'm living by. Here's what that person does. And now, because that person does that, I've got to get my ass up and do that all the time, because this is who I say. This is my identity. This is that person I'm becoming. That's how I actually got myself to wake up early now. Like, some days I'll miss, like, I'll want to stay in bed and cuddle with my wife and all that good stuff. Or, maybe, I've gone out late because I wanted to hang out with my wife or other people, whatever. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to rest today. But I know that I'm not even worried about that, because I know that the next day, because my identity is what it is, I'm going to get up. Like, some days I don't hit the gym. Something happened. I couldn't get to the gym on the days that I'm supposed to. So instead of, my 4 days a week, I'll get 3 a week. And it's like, but I'm good because I know what my identity is. The next time I'm going to hit it, it's not going to be something that's so difficult for me to do. And so it's not about not missing. It's about who you are such that you do those things generally speaking, you do those things. And that's what it takes for you to improve. That's what we got to go do. Who is the persona that we need to identify as successful people? Not cool people attempting to mask their lack of self-worth with being cool. Creative people, but definitely people who are willing to freaking push against their need to just chill and push against their fear of the judgment of others. All right. Thank you for your time. Hope that was valuable for you again. Let's go out and make this thing happen. See you at the top.